I'm a deep-sea researcher. What devouring monster ate a blue whale at midnight? The ocean whispered secrets that night, dark and haunting, as if it knew what lay beneath its mysterious waves. Every diver's chilling tale echoed in the back of my mind. It was there just after midnight when the calm night waters of the North Pacific erupted in chaos. A blue whale, the gentle giant of the sea, vanished as crew members scrambled in disbelief. They pointed at nothing a void where the massive creature had been just moments before, as though it had been swallowed whole by a watery abyss. Witnesses swore they caught a glimpse of something lurking, something so vast and terrifying that it sent shivers down their spines. Underneath the surface, shadows shifted and danced. Was it a giant squid? A previously undiscovered species lurking in the dark? As marine biologists, we thought we'd seen it all, but nothing could prepare us for what we were about to uncover. The ocean drew us in with its beauty, but now it felt sinister, a predator waiting to strike. We equipped ourselves cameras, sonar, and a trembling hope that turned into dread. The creatures of the night, usually silent, roared. The strange calls echoed off our ship, blending with the sound of the waves, creating an eerie symphony that had us all on edge. Then, out of nowhere, the air shifted. A massive splash rocked our vessel. My heart raced. I stood frozen, grasping the rail as water sprayed my face, leaving a salty taste of fear on my lips. What was hideously beautiful could also be deadly. Were our assumptions about the vast creatures of the deep wrong? Time felt endless as we waited, staring into that black abyss. Would we see it? Could we capture proof of this marvel or monster? Shadows loomed, and hearts pounded. Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon. And while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. As the night deepened, a chilling silence blanketed us. A shadow danced just below the surface. My pulse quickened. What we thought was a monster in the deep now just seemed like the calm before the storm. Suddenly, a piercing glare broke through the water's surface, illuminating a titanic form rising from the depths of Behemoth, larger than any sea creature known to man. There it was, a glimpse that would haunt my nightmares, an unforgettable revelation that promised only more questions. What creature possessed the power to take down a blue whale? And was it hungry? I could barely breathe. The answer lay just beneath the waves, waiting to be uncovered. The creature emerged slowly, its silhouette moving with an otherworldly grace. A shudder rippled through the boat, a collective gasp escaping the lips of my fellow researchers. It wasn't just the size that left us breathless. This being, whatever it was, cast an aura of terror that reached us like a cold wave. We moved as if in slow motion, cameras raised but trembling, our hearts erratically beating against our ribs. Do you see that? One of my colleagues whispered, his voice barely escaping his throat. The light from the boat illuminated glistening scales that reflected the moonlight in iridescent patterns, twisting and turning as the creature swayed beneath the surface. It was a mesmerizing horror, a splash of beauty wrapped in the gloom of terror. I could already feel the weight of the history, the countless legends of ocean monsters crashing against reality like turbulent waves. Were these tales of greed, misguided sailors, or the uncharted depths of nature's fury? I couldn't shake the feeling that we were on the brink of an epic discovery or our own demise. Then, out of the darkness, a low rumble echoed from below, vibrating through the hall. It was a sound both alien and familiar, like the growl of a beast whose hunger could swallow the very oceans. I clutched the rail tighter, the rough metal biting into my palm. "What is that?" I shouted, my voice lost in the chaos of crashing waves and the throbbing pulse of the abyss. The gleaming form shifted, spinning gracefully, revealing an elongated jaw that appeared to belong to some prehistoric titan. The aura of danger intensified. Just as the realization surged through me that whatever this thing was, it could kill us all, it vanished beneath the waves with a single, powerful thrust. "Dive team, A voice came roaring from the back, snapping us from the trance. Almost instinctively, everyone began reaching for diving gear, though a part of me screamed to stay put, to avoid descending into the very depths that had just swallowed a blue whale. Fear flickered in their eyes, but the lure of discovery was greater. What if you miss it? That inner voice of curiosity begged that a gnarled knot formed in my stomach as I donned my gear. Conflicting thoughts churned. Was it sheer bravery or reckless madness pushing us? As I pulled on my wetsuit, I shared uneasy glances with my teammates, each of us wrestling with unspoken fears. Let us move. The urgency ignited a fire under our feet. We slipped into the water, one by one, the tenebrous ocean embracing us. Cold struck my skin, jolting nerves alive as we descended. It was murky and thick, swallowing light, yet I could feel its pulse as if it were alive. Suddenly, silhouettes danced just ahead. Were those the shadows of the monstrous creature, or just my mind as projection? My heart raced, clarity and uncertainty tangled together like a fisherman's net. The murmurs of my colleagues echoed faintly against the deep as we ventured further into the unknown. It was then that I spotted a streak of movement, faster than a heartbeat. I blinked, trying to shake the murky appearance of my surroundings. Could it be the blue whale? No, something far larger, more terrifying. This creature had come to claim dominion over the depths. Before I could process it, a closer glimpse was revealed. A pair of huge, unblinking eyes locked onto mine, glowing like molten gold. It hovered there, examining me as I was ensnared in its gaze. Suddenly, the ocean erupted again, another splash, but far more menacing this time. The creature thrashed about, sending torrents of water surging over me, as it prepared to unleash its wrath. In that instant, my guts sank. We had underestimated the predator of the deep. Desperation surged within. Get back! I screamed, but the chaos of the ocean drowned my voice. Would we escape its clutches? Was this the last dive we'd ever make? Nature was reclaiming her territory, and the ocean roared its fury as the waves crashed above. Darkness enveloped, leaving both fear and anticipation twisting together. What ancient being had we disturbed, and would any of us survive to tell the tale? In the deep blue, we were no longer researchers. We were prey. Panic shot through my veins as I spotted movement just beyond the murk. The water roiled, crashing around me, blending fear with the indigo shadows of the depths. The creature was still there, lurking, learning, perhaps even toying with us like a cat with a mouse. Stay close, someone shouted, but the sound was lost in the churning chaos. We were separate entities now, lost in a nightmare that stretched beyond our understanding. As we flailed against the cruel current, I caught a glimpse of my teammates, their faces distorted with both terror and exhilaration. We were drawn into a reckless dance with destiny. Then it happened. A massive tail emerged, slicing the ocean's surface like an executioner's axe. I barely had time to react as the force of displacement pushed me sideways. The water thrashed violently, and I struggled to maintain my bearings, panic clawing at my throat. Before I could fully process what lay above, the creature surged upward, following the force of its own monstrous energy. I held my breath, paralyzed as it breached. The moonlight caught the massive form, revealing an impossible expanse of gleaming scales, shimmering like shards of glass. There was beauty there, but horrifying beauty, a nightmare conjured from the depths of folklore. Morbid fascination gripped me as I watched it hover, its length eclipsing everything I had ever seen. The look in those molten eyes felt like a kiss of death. Sudden fury erupted in my chest as I felt my pulse quicken. If this was my last moment, it was going to count. Then the beast recoiled. With a swift, fluid motion, it lunged directly at me. I screamed, my voice swallowed by the gurgling abyss, the sound lost to the crushing darkness. Time froze. Instinct thundered through my body. Adrenaline ignited my muscles as I darted to the side, narrowly evading the creature's snapping jaws. I barely escaped, but I didn't think about that. Get to the surface. Someone yelled, but I couldn't hear who. As my world narrowed into a singular focus, survival. The water crashed around me, dragging me deeper into the void, every instinct clamoring for air. Heart racing like a freight train, I propelled myself upward, desperate for the light above. The surface sparkled tantalizingly close, but the water seemed to churn with monstrous intent. I could feel the displacement from the creature's movements, a dark current pulling me back. Panic surged in my chest as I fought up, gasping for breath, muscles burning. Then, piercing through the turmoil, a ghastly thought gripped me. What if my teammates hadn't teammated it? What if the monster reveled in its victory, leaving others behind in its wake? The enormity of my dread made my chest tighten painfully. Finally, I broke the surface, struggling against the waves. My eyes scanned the dark horizon, praying to find familiar faces. Scraps of shouts echoed around me, but the cacophony frightened me more than I cared to admit. Were we fragmented puzzle pieces to this ancient beast, waiting to be put together or devoured? Where are they? I gasped, scrambling for breath. Fear choked me, my gut knotted with dread. If the monster was swimming below, we could do nothing but wait for its next strike. But then I caught sight of a bright light in the distance. Over here, I screamed, spotting a flashlight sweeping across the water. Hope bubbled up within me, but that hope was a precarious flame in a storm. What awaited us back on the boat? Were we all still alive? Or was this just the beginning of our reckoning with the creature of the deep? A shadow flickered beneath the waves, and I felt my heart stop. The creature was still here, lurking. The surface was no refuge. Would it hunt us one by one? The real question pressed against my mind like a vice. I was just a researcher. What could I possibly do against such a Leviathan? As fear clawed at me, the flashlight's beam jerked, illuminating a massive form just below the surface. It was circling, waiting for its moment. In that chilling moment of realization, I knew we weren't just prey. We were bait. The water was alive with terror. I could still feel the ripple of the creature's form gliding beneath the surface, a ghostly predator hungry for its next victim. The flashlight beam flickered unervingly, revealing the swells and darkened points that seemed to pull me closer to the monster lurking below. Where is everyone? I shouted, desperation coating my voice like acid. Pushing against the waves, I felt the night air whipping around me, but all I got in return was an echo of my own fear, mixed with the frantic splashes of my teammates. The flashlight swung wildly, its beam tracing uncertain arcs across the water, and I squinted, searching. Then came a scream, a high-pitched, terrified plea somewhere off to my right. The sound sliced through the night, chilling me to the bone. It wasn't just my imagination. Someone was in danger. Head that way. I pointed, but my finger trembled. It felt like I was directing my friends right into the beast's gaping maw. Shivers ran down my spine as I forced myself to swim toward the sound, every stroke feeling like a surrender to fate. Each kick sent a flare of panic racing through me, my instincts screaming that every movement could invoke the wrath of the unseen terror lurking beneath. I closed the distance. The flashlight cut through the waves, illuminating a twisted figure swimming frantically. It was Leo. Relief surged inside me, but it was quickly replaced by horror as I saw he was desperately trying to stay afloat, his legs kicking wildly as if something were dragging him down. My breath hitched. Grab my hand, I shouted, extending my arm as I fought against the merciless current, but Leo's eyes were wide, fixed on something below. No, it's there. It's right there, he gasped, pointing wildly. I didn't see it, but I could feel it. A stillness washed over the water, a moment of eerie calm before the storm. Something massive shifted beneath the surface, the water darkening in its wake. Every muscle in my body froze. This was a predator that thrived on fear and chaos. I lunged for him, but something snagged at my leg, pulling me back. For a split second, I was cocooned in icy dread. Panic bloomed in my chest as I twisted to free myself. The water churned around me, a sinister dance of shadows, and the sensation of being hunted tightened like a noose. Fight it, Leo shouted, echoing my own thoughts as he clawed at the surface. I watched in agony, adrenaline flooding my senses. I kicked with ferocity, breaking free from what felt like a clamping, unseen grip. I had to reach him, had to save him, but instinct urged me to retreat, the primal fear of death clawing at my heart. Suddenly, there came a colossal splash, and I felt the sea rise, a wall of water cascading over me as a shadow leaped from beneath. My eyes widened, heart pounding against my ribs. The creature rose, its spine breaking the surface like a mountainous wave. Oh my God! was all I managed to mutter, words crushed beneath the weight of terror. The details were grotesque, the scales glinting in the flashlight beam, the maw gaping wide. I felt it, the breath of the beast in the air, acrid and foul. There was no rational thought left, only the instinct to survive. With every ounce of strength, I surged toward Leo. "Swim, Leo! Now!" I roared, pushing against the waves, desperation lending fuel to my movements. We were a mere heartbeat from the jaws of death, but I refused to lose hope. The monstrous figure loomed ahead, its eyes capturing the faint light, swirling with hunger. This was no longer just a research expedition. It was a battle against something ancient, something ravenous. Then, there was a blinding flash. The flashlight flickered and died, plunging us into darkness. I could hear Leo's frantic breathing, taste the salt of the ocean on my lips. "Swim!" I screamed again, desperation fueling my voice. I couldn't allow myself to think of anything else. Otherwise, we'd be lost to the depths. But silence swallowed our frantic splashes, the darkness layered with the thread of unknown horrors. Were we doomed to become part of the very folklore that haunted our nightmares? Or was this just the beginning of a deeper, darker truth waiting to be uncovered? The darkness pressed in, cold and thick as a shroud. My heart raced, a drumbeat of terror pushing me forward even when every instinct screamed to retreat. I could barely see Leo, just a blur in the tumult, his panicked breaths echoing through the silence. The air was heavy, tasting of salt and something sour that made my stomach churn. "Leo!" I called out, but my voice felt small against the vastness. Without the flashlight, we were adrift in an ocean of despair, battling an unseen menace that could strike at any moment. Where was that creature now? The terrifying thought was a code read in my mind. Suddenly, a whisper of movement caught my attention. I turned, scanning to anticipate the next strike. My pulse thundered in my ears like raging waves crashing against a rocky shore. A shudder moved through the water, almost like it was breathing alive, as if it savored the fear permeating the night. "Are you there?" Leo's voice trembled, barely rising above the hush. He sounded so fragile, so far away. "I'm here. Just keep kicking," I shouted, unable to shake the feeling of fingers curling around my ankles, tugging at me from below. The deeper abyss reached out, hungry for souls. Then I felt a violent shift in the water that sent shockwaves rippling through the darkness. Without warning, something massive surged up from the deep, breaking the surface with an explosive crash. I gasped as water sprayed my face, and within that chaotic splash, I caught a glimpse of it. The gleaming scales shimmered under what little light remained, and I feared I could see the outline of that monstrous maw, rows of jagged teeth glistening with the promise of doom. My mind raced. What kind of beast could crush a whale? How could we exist in the same ocean? "Swim!" I shouted, fear morphing my voice into a raw rasp. I kicked harder, cutting through the surface, desperation fueling my limbs. But the creature circled back, a terrible intelligence behind its eyes, watching me. Leo was still flailing, but I knew I had to get him to safety. I could almost feel the beast's breath against my skin, hot and rancid. "Don't panic," I yelled, forcing the words out even as my throat tightened with dread. "We'll make it." Ideas flashed through my mind. If we could get to the shore, find higher ground, surely it would have to retreat to the depths. But those concepts felt feeble against the primal terror before us. Then came a roar echoing off the darkened water, a sound that was utterly foreign and unnaturally loud. It was almost a warning, vibrating through the water. "What is that?" Leo shouted, eyes wide with terror. "Keep swimming," I screamed as the water erupted again, a violent maelstrom tossing us like ragdolls. The beast was launching itself into the air, as if mocking our feeble attempts to escape. But something unexpected happened. As it crashed down, another ripple threaded through the water, and in that moment of chaos, I saw something else, something glistening beneath the water's surface. It looked almost familiar. "Do you see that?" I gestured desperately under the surface, catching the strange reflections swirling below. "What is it? Is it more of it? More of the monster?" Leo gasped. "No," I whispered, my pulse quickening. "I think it's a piece of what it ate, a huge piece." Panic mingled with a startling realization as the water rippled violently. If that creature consumed something so gigantic, what lay in wait for us. This wasn't just a fight for survival. It was a horrifying glimpse at a dark truth lurking beneath the waves. Swim, I urged Leo again, throwing glances over my shoulder. We had to know what lay buried in the depths and what we were truly up against. With renewed determination, we pressed on. But time slipped through our fingers as the water around us darkened further, and I couldn't shake the feeling that whatever shadow lurked below was ready for its final act. Would we reach safety, or were we being lured deeper into a nightmare that awaited us? As the silhouette of something colossal loomed beneath, I knew the answers were about to surface. The water roiled around us, a churning reminder that death was but a kick away. I stole a glance at Leo, his eyes wide with terror, reflecting the darkness surrounding us. Every ounce of my being screamed that the creature was close now, its presence a miasma that clung to my skin. Don't stop. We need to reach the shore, I gasped, every word pulling me deeper into the bleak embrace of our dire situation. The roar thundered again, sharper this time, vibrating through the water and shaking me to my core. From beneath the surface, it felt as if the creature was taunting us, circling closer with a predatory precision, waiting for the moment we would falter. Do you think it can smell us? Leo blurted out, panting. I don't know, I shouted back, fear twisting my stomach into knots. Nothing mattered more than keeping us alive. Focus on swimming. A sudden surge in the water sent Leo and me tumbling. My lungs burned as I fought to remain afloat, clawing at the surface with everything I had left. A dark shadow skimmed beneath us, obscured but no longer a mere figment of my imagination. It was there, massive and filled with malicious intent. Please, God, Leo cried, his voice cracking, panic swirling with the salty waves. Keep it together. Don't look back, I hollered, just as I felt the water lurch beneath my feet. A gurgled scream pierced the air, a life snuffed out behind me, somewhere lost to the dark. I had to fight the churn of the sea around me, but the temptation to look back was almost crippling. My heart pounded with the rhythm of impending doom, propelling me toward the distant horizon where the promise of land hung just out of reach. Suddenly, the silhouette surged up from the depths. My blood froze. It broke the water's surface, a colossal behemoth with glistening, iridescent scales that reflected what little light remained. Its maw opened wide, looming over us like a harbinger, showing off rows of jagged teeth, sharp enough to tear apart flesh. There! It's no! Leo screamed, panic firing up once more in his voice as he struggled against the waves. It's coming for us. Swim. Faster! I barked, my voice cracking as I pushed against the dread clawing at my mind. The shoreline was like a beacon. Or maybe it was another trick, another twist in the night. From the corner of my eye, I saw it glance downward, curiously inspecting the water where that glistening shape had shone just seconds before. My heart raced as a bizarre sense of hope flickered inside me. It wanted something else. It was distracted. Leo, I shouted, frustration bubbling into rage. This is our chance. We can get away. Our legs moved in a synchronized panic, kicking harder and faster. The monster barely acknowledged us. Its monstrous weight turned the tide. Water splashed fiercely around us as it dove down again. Do you think it? Leo started, but the roar bellowed forth again, cutting through the night, drowning out everything else. A wild idea sparked in my brain. If that thing feeds off other titans, what if it's had its fill? Do you think it'll let us go? Leo panted, disbelief lacing his words. Maybe it's not hungry now. We have to push. My voice was raw, but I forced myself to only think about escape. As we inched closer to the shore, hope ignited like the stars above us. The shore was just within sight. But then the water surged violently again, and I could scarcely breathe as a shadow swept beneath. This isn't over, I screamed, realizing our fight was far from won. A final geyser erupted, sending water sky high as the beast broke free from its dark tomb, revealing its full form. It twisted and turned in the light for one brutal moment before it shot towards us, fury spilling from its depths. Now, as the creature lunged, teeth bared and jaws open wide, I realized what lay beneath the ocean's surface was only the beginning. Would we escape its wrath, or had we wrangled a much larger nightmare than either of us could ever have imagined? The water cascaded around us like a wild beast, each wave a reminder that our time was running out. I could feel Leo's frantic energy next to me, his limbs thrashing as we raced for the shore. The creature was hurtling through the depths, a titan unleashed, and I dared not look back, even as the roar of its fury echoed in my ears. "Keep going," I yelled, desperation fueling my words. Just a little farther. But the shore felt too far away, too unreachable, a mirage on the horizon. Panic clawed at my throat as I pondered the alternative, surrendering to the maw of this relentless beast. Just as I turned to urge Leo on again, a sudden wave crashed over me. I struggled to maintain my footing, my heart pounding against my chest like a wild drum. With each stroke, my arms felt heavier. But the thought of the creature kept me moving, desperate to escape its looming presence. The water surged again, pulling me under momentarily, and for a split second, the reality settled in. I was entirely at its mercy. Coughing up salty water, I broke through the surface, gasping. Above me, the night sky glimmered with stars, moments of beauty stark against my growing sense of dread. My eyes darted along the waves, searching desperately for Leo. He had gotten pulled away, caught in the tumult. "Leo," I shouted, panic punctuating my voice. The water churned angrily around me, its powerful depths reminding me I was just a speck in the grand ocean. That a glint caught my eye. The monster had submerged again, stealthily searching for its next target. I had to act. I had to reach Leo. Scanning the area, my heart dropped. There, just a few yards away, Leo struggled against the swell. Without thinking, I surged toward him, the very water that threatened to pull us under suddenly transforming into a lifeline. "Grab on," I yelled, extending my hand as I closed the distance. His hand grasped mine, desperation coursing through his grip. I pulled him with all my strength as adrenaline flooded my veins, feeling the weight of the moment. Together, we oriented ourselves, moving toward the shore in a frenzy. Suddenly, a thunderous splash erupted behind us. I turned, dread pooling in my stomach as I saw the creature breach the surface. It was massive, glistening scales refracting the faint silver light. My eyes widened as its massive body twisted like a wave about to break. "Faster!" Leo screamed, his voice a mix of resolve and terror. We swam with everything we had, the world around us fading into a blur of desperation and determination. Each stroke was a battle against fate, the shoreline drawing ever closer but still tantalizingly out of reach. The beast plunged back under, but I could feel its presence with every heartbeat, lurking, waiting, testing our limits. In the distance, the roar of the creature echoed, chilling me down to my bones. I was reminded of the stories I'd heard, tales spoken in hushed tones that suggested there were higher purpose and primal slaughter on these waters. And then it happened. A ripple subtle at first ran through the ocean, and suddenly a piercing scream erupted from somewhere in the dark. My breath caught in my throat as the realization hit. It wasn't just us. There were others. "Keep going. Go," I shouted, propelling us through the water, but with each frantic kick, another scream peppered the night air, sending icy shivers down my spine. The horror of it all weighed heavily on my mind. What was this thing? What had it awakened beneath the surface? Was it really just hunting, or was there a greater force at play, an ancient vengeance rippling back through the ages? "What do we do?" Leo gasped, his eyes wild with fear. "Just stay close to me." As we neared the edge of the shore, panic hit a fever pitch. The creature broke the surface again, sheer fury evident, crimson-encrusted teeth glinting in the waning moonlight. My pulse raced as its ominous shadow loomed far too close, pursuing, hunting, not quitting until it had claimed what it wanted. Just as hope flickered, the waves surged higher, spiraling around us, and the beast lunged forward, jaws wide open. Could we make it to land, or would we fall prey to something that had been waiting for ages in the dark? The water engulfed us, a liquid prison that seemed to constrict with every pulse of danger. Time stood still as I felt the intensity of the creature's shadow press down upon us. Leo's grip tightened around my hand, his knuckles white as the chaos unfurled around us. "Swim," I yelled, urgency crashing through me like a wave at high tide. But the words felt futile, swallowed by the depths. Would we drown under the weight of our fears, or emerge victorious against this terror lurking just below? I kicked harder, every movement fueled by a primal instinct to survive. But as I glanced over my shoulder, I saw it massive and merciless. The creature's jaws gaped wide, rows of razor-sharp teeth gleaming ominously. The water erupted in a violent spray as it lunged once more, its power sending shockwaves through my body. Leo was behind me, close enough that I could still feel his presence. Yet how long could that last if we were consumed in a single instant? Panic washed over me anew, threatening to drown my spirit. With each passing second, the shore seemed to slip further and further away, a cruel joke that mocked our plight. Desperation clawed at my throat. "We have to stay together," I shouted, but the realization pierced through. This was no usual sea monster. This was something older, something that belonged to the deeper, darker wonders of the ocean. The creature lunged again, its massive form breaking the surface in a shower of salt water that stung my skin. Seconds felt like hours as I watched it twist and dive, the iridescence of its scales mesmerizing and horrifying all at once. Then came the screams, horrific, haunting cries from other souls lost in the darkness. Then, a thought uncoiled within me. Were we its only targets? Or was this an offering, a moment in time where it feasted on fear? My heart pounded with the echo of those anguished yells, and dread pooled heavy in my stomach. "Abandon the shore," Leo shouted, defying logic as he pointed towards deeper waters. "We can't go back. We need to find those screams." I hesitated, glancing at the horizon where land faded into shadows. The instinct to retreat clashed violently with the call to rescue. But as another scream pierced the night, I knew we couldn't abandon others. Not now. "All right, let us go," I shouted, the words igniting a fire within. Together, we turned our backs to safety and dove into the depths. The water embraced us as we sank lower, the monstrous beast a thundering heartbeat above. The world grew eerily quiet down here. Only the sound of our frantic breaths and the distant thrumming of a darkened abyss breaking through the silence. But there was movement beneath us, shadows, hints of bodies struggling in the depths. My resolve hardened. "We're close," I yelled, propelling myself downward, the darkness pressing against me like an old familiar weight. But then it struck an electric pulse of movement, a shadow sweeping beneath us much larger than the beast above. I barely had time to react as glistening eyes broke through the abyss, watching. An entire pod, trapped in whatever nightmare this creature had conjured. This wasn't just a hunt for our lives. We were intertwined with something far greater, and the stakes were unfathomably high. With every ounce of strength, I grabbed Leo's hand, pulling him toward the faint cries. But the shadows swirled, and suddenly the larger creature broke through. Tendrils of darkness writhed around us, urging us to flee back into the light. "Keep moving," Leo cried. But as we pressed on, I realized a terrifying truth. We wouldn't just have to fight for our lives. We were about to dive into the very heart of the ocean's fury. As we approached the source of the screams, the waters churned wildly, and cold dread settled in. A turning point awaited us. What awaited on the other side of this has been hidden for ages, and it was calling us in. But would we brave it, or would we become mere whispers in the dark? The darkness thickened around us, swallowing the world whole as I pushed deeper into the bone-chilling depths. Every stroke felt like a desperate gasp for air, like I was clawing at a surface that no longer existed. I glanced back at Leo, his face set with determination, but beneath that, I caught fleeting glimpses of fear. "Do you hear them?" he shouted over the distance, but the words barely broke through the heavy water. They weren't just screams, they were cries of terror that tore at my heart, echoing the hopelessness looming over this ocean trap. I nodded, my heart racing as I cupped my hands to my mouth, trying to project my voice through the abyss. "We're coming." The thought of helpless victims spurred me on, despite the pulse of dread festering in the pit of my stomach. The shadows danced around us, flickering like lost souls flirting with despair, and I was starting to believe we would join them if we didn't hurry. Suddenly, a shudder rippled through the water, a warning or a promise. I couldn't tell. The shadows around me broke apart, revealing what I could only describe as a nightmare. The remnants of the pod, thrashing and twisting, their eyes wide with terror. I could see their scales glittering, bodies twisting in a frantic dance, trying to fend off the encroaching dark. It was a scene of horror, one I'd never anticipated witnessing. My breath caught, as I glimpsed a massive shape rising in the gloom. It was hideous, massive, not unlike the creature that had pursued us, but far more sinister in its elegance. Its eyes glinted like obsidian as it surveyed its prey, the very essence of dread manifesting. I felt a chill seeping into my bones. We were no match for it. "Leo, we need to get closer," I urged, but then a ghastly roar reverberated through the water, rattling me to my core. It was monstrous, the kind of sound that promised ruin, a grotesque proclamation of dominance. As we swam closer, I could see the source of their screams, a massive net, a tangle of old ropes and fishing lines, ensnaring the remaining creatures. They writhed in agony, their bodies slick and desperate against the bonds of humanity's neglect. "Help them," Leo cried, desperation seeping into his voice. "We can't let them die here." The depths swirled around us with relentless force as I gripped a fraying line, attempting to cut it with my bare hands, but it was no use. I needed a tool, something to sever their bonds, but in that moment, my mind was blank, overtaken by the howl of the beast that still loomed above. The water shifted. Suddenly, the massive creature that had terrified us before surged downward, its enormous form eclipsing everything in sight. Leo barely grabbed my arm in time, yanking me back just as the shadow crashed past like a freight train, creating a vacuum that pulled us closer to its thrumming heart. "Watch out," I yelled, twisting away from the pull. The current yanked us sideways, my body colliding with something solid, perhaps the remnants of an old shipwreck, debris that jutted out like the broken teeth of an ancient beast. A sudden concerning reality clenched at my chest. It wasn't just a monster hunting the whales. No, this creature had a purpose, a primal drive that felt wrong, sinister. It was as if it fed not just on flesh, but on the very essence of fear itself. "Up. We need to go up," I gasped as panic set in. But the water around us was shifting too fast. The shadows were churning as if they had come alive, swirling around us with malicious intent. The pod's cries filled the space, a symphony of agony that shattered any remnants of hope. In a desperate bid, I reached out to the nearest creature. "I want to let you be its meal." As my fingers brushed its slick skin, I felt a pulse of warmth, a fleeting moment of connection. I was meant to help. But time was drawing short. The monster was about to strike. Suddenly, silence fell. Everything froze as the power in the water shifted again. What came next would be a confrontation with my darkest fears, submerged in the grasp of the surrounding shadows. As the creature prepared to descend upon us, I realized we were standing on the threshold of a darkness that could swallow not only us, but everything we held dear. What decision would we have to make in the face of such unimaginable terror? Would we dive deeper into the unknown, or flee into the safety of light, leaving others to be consumed in the wrath of the abyss? I braced myself. The moment had come. The depths churned violently as the unseen terror drew near, and everything slowed to a gut-wrenching crawl. My heart pounded like a bass drum in my ears, drowning out the frantic cries of the trapped pod. What were we about to confront? "Stay close," I gasped to Leo, fear clutching at my insides. We pushed ourselves deeper, searching for any hint of hope amidst the chaos. But those dark waters held secrets that could swallow us whole or yield us salvation. Suddenly, we felt a massive shift in the pressure, a warning sign. The shadows flickered, and just then, the Leviathan burst forth, eyes glinting like haunted stars. It was a grotesque beauty, a merging of nightmares that seemed to shimmer with malevolence. My instincts screamed at me to retreat, to run from this grotesque apparition. But we couldn't turn back. Not now. The cries of the pod grew louder, piercing through the murky water, pushing us forward despite our dread. Here was desperation trapped, insecure, struggling against the bonds of our world. The creature rose above them, powerful and relentless, preparing for its next hunger-induced strike. But we couldn't let that happen. "Together," I yelled, determination igniting my voice. We had to rescue them. The shadows thrashed around us, while we kicked toward the trapped pod, our limbs cutting through the freezing dark, while Leo and I worked frantically to unravel the grotesque snare binding them. I noticed something tugging at my leg. Panic clawed at my throat as I twisted, barely avoiding the creature's sharp maw mere feet away. The foul breath washed over me, acrid and terrifying, but the primal urge to survive surged higher. "We can't give up," I shouted, yanking at a chain with all my strength. The sound of snapping metal echoed through the water. Time blurred into an exhilarating chaos as I turned to Leo. "Keep them calm. I can break these." I watched as he steadied the panicked creatures, doing his best to soothe them. Then, with one final heave, the last rope shattered, slithering into the dark currents. Freedom! A wave of relief mixed with sheer terror swept through my veins. The trapped creatures darted forward, glancing back to us with what felt like gratitude, a moment captured in a heartbeat, a connection against the horrors surrounding us. But there was no time for celebration. The monstrous silhouette was still closing in. With every thundering heartbeat, it felt more alive, more aware. Silence fell once again when it recognized our presence, its awareness shifting from the escaping pod back to us. "Go!" Leo screamed, and without another second to spare, we swam hard, pushing against the crushing waters toward the surface. As we broke free into the moonlit sky, desperation fueled our kicks, fighting against fatigue. Waves crashed around us, enveloping us in salty relief and panic. I turned my head, looking for the creatures we freed. I could see them surface in the distance, merging gracefully into the ocean. "I think we did it," Leo gasped, sweat and ocean staining his face. But my gaze remained tool-sharp. The morbid shadows still loomed beneath, threatening to reclaim its snacks, and the lull of safety felt ominous. "We need to get to the boat," I yelled, adrenaline propelling us both one last time. A final splash marked the creature catching the escapees, its rage echoing through the water, chasing the pod deeper. We had to warn the crew. We fought through the waves, pulling ourselves towards safety with every fiber of our beings. I could feel the monster beneath thrumming slightly, a dread pulse reverberating through the water, taunting my dreams and sanity. Once on board, I took a moment to gasp for air, but my heart sank. The crew was scattered, trying desperately to manage the chaos above the waves, but they hear our story. They understand that we were dealing with an ancient horror that could lay waste to every soul upon the seas in mere moments. "We need to leave. Now," I shouted, rallying my team. Fear rippling through their faces mirrored what I'd felt beneath, now emerging above like twisted memories resurfacing alongside adrenaline. As the engine roared to life, and we broke free from the water's grasp, I felt the weight of the ocean lift. Yet, somewhere within the shimmering depths, an ancient creature prowled, and tonight would not be its only meal. Survival whispered everywhere, but as those sounds meshed with the echoes of what we had witnessed, I felt both victorious yet burdensome with the truth. The ocean seemed to wrap around us like a cold embrace, infusing chilling tales beneath its fickle surface. We had escaped, but would stories of the creature and those wretched cries haunt us for a lifetime? Well, over the horizon, the quest for understanding would keep drawing us back. The ocean, vast and dark, might threaten us, but it was also filled with beauty, wonder, and secrets, and for better or worse, we were inextricably intertwined. Now, make sure you subscribe immediately to the channel so you don't miss the next exclusive stories. You need to stay tuned for more thrilling journeys ahead. And don't forget to smash that like button now to feed the algorithm. Your support is what makes this community thrive. Flood the comments section with your reactions and theories about the ending. What did you think we just experienced? Finally, instantly share this video with at least 5 friends who absolutely need to see this incredible conclusion. Don't wait even one more second to spread the word. True fans like you truly make a difference. Let us awaken the curiosity together.